All right, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode today. Real Lounge Talks with Ben and Syafiq. All right. I realized we forgot to say that in the previous
Oh yeah,
episode.
we
Actually,
did.
but they should know.
They
lah.
should
They
know, they
should
should know,
you
they should
like,
know.
It's there in the title and everything. Yeah. So it's yeah. So today we actually recording our second episode for the day today, because of course when Ben and I meet up, just to be open and transparent, we try to do like at least 2 episodes at one go, so that like we can upload it 1 week after the other, and then because life always gets in the way, and that's why you guys have not been seeing us for about 2 weeks. All right, because
But we
of
come back
life.
better than
But we come back better because we're in a new place now.
new place.
All right, so things are going pretty well, I would say.
You know what we should do? We should put like a shut up there. In green screen, green
Oh
color.
my god.
Actually,
And
in
then,
worst
like-
case scenario, we just put like the shut up there. You can wear something else.
True, yeah. So if you guys are like not sure what we're talking about, we actually want to get like a green screen like here, because we know there's like open space here
Yeah.
there where we can probably like do something. But then again, like technically we can just like superimpose something here, right?
Yeah, we
In a
probably
way.
can. Or we can just put like a
Yeah,
picture or
we
something.
can just we can put the real Lounge Talk logo here. Idea.
Idea.
Yeah.
For future
Idea.
episodes.
Something to think about.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, before we start this episode, also, yeah. Ben, anything you would like to share? Anything that interesting happened over your New Year's? Yeah. Was there anything? Did you meet anyone or anything like that?
You know
Trying
what's
to
funny?
dig up a bit of things from Ben.
You know what's funny? Like I think it's like a family friend wanting me to introduce me to someone.
No way.
If-
Seriously.
but,
Okay.
But then she's working in Singapore.
Okay.
So I'm just like
A bit hard.
Friends okay.
Friends okay.
Friends okay. You see what happens.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Who
Oh,
knows?
actually, I think you messaged me something that I think is worth sharing, which is
what's it?
in Perth, the first ever
Hmm.
cohort of graduates from the University of Western
Oh, yeah,
Australia. Okay, so basically, I think was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
4 weeks ago, I think.
Oh, really?
Month?
It's been a
month?
while?
I think it's been a month.
Yeah, but their graduation was quite recent, right? I don't think it was that long ago though.
I think 2 weeks.
Yeah, roughly
Because
2 weeks
I'm pretty
ago.
sure this was before the uni break.
Probably yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, but basically, guys,
I'm
just
not
for,
sure.
for you guys to
I
know,
forgot.
yeah, is that like so Perth has finally graduated their very first batch of Perth born and I wouldn't say born and bred, but like Perth graduates, of optometrists. Just a bit of a history for those of you guys who don't know is that like so all the optometrists as of now, I mean still as of today actually, I would say all the optometrists in Perth at the moment, right? All of us are either from the eastern states, which is Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Adelaide, wherever it is, or we are either like some of us are from the
Nationals,
UK,
yeah.
some of us are like from South Africa, basically all over the world, because Perth had not had their own optometry school until recently, and
Yeah.
yes, their first batch of graduates just graduated basically. So I think it's quite a big leap for Perth, where yes, it's always known as a city that always lags behind every single other.
Literally, like you see, like all the stats of Perth are just like,
Yeah.
Perth did this last, Perth did this last, Perth
Yeah,
did this
it
last.
always lasts, But
But
something.
we do the best.
True. But something that recently happened, which is like a sad thing, which we are not proud of. And again, we are not like subject matter expert in this, but the property market, man, the property
It's not.
market,
It's oof.
Perth
It's
caught up.
jialat.
Perth caught up finally in a bad way.
In a bad
In a
way.
bad way,
In a bad way.
Like
Do you want to
honestly,
buy a
it's-
house? It's $900,000.
it's expensive. I mean, especially if you go to like those like
Yeah.
more established areas and whatnot. Like we've always made this joke where like Perth is always like a few years behind, and I think it's at a point where it did caught up a bit with like Melbourne and Sydney in terms of like
Yeah.
property prices. Like, it's getting more expensive. Even just to share, like because my job, I recently moved like a bit further away, right?
Yeah.
And now it takes me like 50 minutes to get to work with traffic every morning, and even coming back it
What time
takes
do
me
you-
about 50 minutes.
So
yeah.
what time do you leave?
All right, so I actually leave about 7:50 for a 9 o'clock start. Okay, yeah, and the reason why, because so at my new workplace now, we have a huddle 15 minutes before 9 o'clock. So at 8:45, and you know what? Honestly, like I've now worked full time at 3 different stores, and I must say that like this particular store actually does it very well in terms of how they do like what we call like a morning huddle, where I actually kind of enjoy it because like they actually talk not only about like, oh, like you must get better sales, you must get better this and that, like in
They
terms
do
of
the
money.
how.
They not only do the how, but they also talk about like different things like store processes, just about like reminding everyone how certain things are, what promotions are running, and things like that. So it keeps everyone on the same page, and it actually, from in my opinion anyway, right? You know how most stores they might not even do meetings like frequently because they're like, oh, it's gonna cost too much to do meetings and whatnot, right? But this particular store actually, in my opinion anyway, I'm not sure if I'm being biased here, but like I've been now in the same company for 5 years, coming 5 years next month actually.
Oh, Vijay,
Coming
your
5 years,
your
yeah.
long
So
long service leave.
no, I think
Isn't it 5
I'm not
years?
sure, is it 5 or 7
Oh,
or 10.
oh,
I
okay,
know that
okay.
I think there's one at 7 and one at 10 if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
okay.
but anyway, like that's not the main point.
That's not what I say. That's not what I say, guys.
That's what I say. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. So anyway, long story short, I just find the way they do morning huddles very interesting. Like every single Thursday also they have this thing where they actually give out like a quiz to everyone, but it's a
Oh.
fun quiz. Like for
You
instance.
win. You win a little bit
Yeah,
of things.
Yeah, like for instance, like during Christmas we did like a Christmas quiz, and then like after New Year, I think like the store that I'm in, it did break some records in terms of like hitting sales numbers and whatnot, and then so we did another week of like on that Thursday we did a quiz on like record breaking things around the world kind of thing. So just to make it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that these are some things that like you will remember, and like although you might think that like this is something that's very small that's being done, right? Like in the long run, it actually keeps everyone on the same page, and this is something that I'm personally passionate talking about, which is like business processes and how things are run, in a particular store or company, how you motivate other individuals in the store, and things like that. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So sorry to sidetrack there, but basically 7:50 I would leave house, and then I would usually reach at the car park by about, I would say 8:35, 8:40, which is literally just enough time for me to get in,
Yeah.
and then like put my things down, maybe turn on the computers, and then like start off. Basically, yeah. So yeah, so because of the long commute and all these kind of things, right? So that's why I'm going to be moving, and yeah, leading back to the market, man. Like at the moment, it's so bad. Like it's really so bad.
It's probably like 700k, 800k up now.
Look, yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not really looking at buying it at the moment, but I'm looking at like renting, and
Yeah, renting is
the
bad. Renting's
prices has gone like
bad. Like
monstrously high.
Twofold, threefold.
Yeah, okay, like just to give a bit of context, right? When I came here, this was back in February of 2019 to Perth, right? I rented a master bedroom for $200, right?
Oh.
And this is an ensuite. $200
That is
a week.
cheap. That is
Yeah,
cheap.
which was really back then. You might think it's cheap, but back then it was really considered a bit premium in a way, because most master bedroom were going for like 180 or like 160, 170. So mine at 180, mine at 200. People was really saying, oh, that's a bit expensive, yeah. But then again, like then I moved to my very first apartment, where I lived there for about 6 months on my own, and that costed $430 a week for a 2-bed 2-bath.
Oof.
I moved to this apartment, right? I moved to this apartment, 2-bed 1-bath for $430, same price. And now I'm gonna be looking at moving like to the north side of the river, which is yes, is a bit more expensive in a way, and like we're just looking for 1-bed 1-bath with 1 parking lot apartment. All right, easily 500 to 550 a week.
Dang.
No joke. Like all the ones that I'm applying for, it's
Just
like
like
500. It's like
I'm just like,
it's not cheap.
my money-
It's not cheap, man.
my
It's
money
like,
behind just like, that's a lot of money.
it's a lot of money. Okay, you should think about it, right?
Like, what, it's
Yeah.
like extra 24k, 25.
Look, I mean, in a year, all right. So if you take it as like 500, $500 a week, right? So in a year, there's like 52 weeks. 52, if you divide it by 52 times $500, basically. So that's like what?
25?
Is it? Okay, so if you take 52, if you divide by 2, that's about 26. So it's about
Where's the
26,000.
calculator?
26,000, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
$26,000 just in rent, and that's before bills, So like internet and electricity is not considered in it in a way.
You
Yeah.
have to pay all like your What's that called? Where you pay like council fees, you have to pay all of those.
Yeah, so the thing about living in an apartment, I mean, so far from my limited experience, okay, I've only lived in an apartment for about 2.5 years now, coming, I would say. Is it about there? Or roughly 2 years, I would say, yeah. But anyway, my experience is that like I don't think we really pay council fees in the sense that because I'm a renter, right? So I pay my landlord, and then my landlord, I guess,
deals with everything
they
else.
pay that
Yeah.
maybe, yeah. So honestly, I'm personally not sure about the whole process, but I just pay a certain amount, and like the property manager, just settles everything pretty much, yeah. So yeah, so that's just a bit of a life update in a way, trying to move up north, and like rent going from like 430 to probably 550,
That's a
and
lot.
it's a lot. But look, this is the reality of the situation.
The
now,
power of
and
inflation.
the power of inflation, but also I was just I saw this YouTuber who's talking about like property market in Australia, right? Even he said that Perth has like the highest increase in rents over the past quarter, I reckon. So about the past 3 months, about 3 to 6 months, which is again is no surprise actually.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the things about.
But like for the first quarter, so that's like, I think like the previous 3 quarters.
I think it's the previous 3 quarters. So I think it's from.
So this is
from
after all the rate hikes.
Yeah. So it's still going up, if anything, Yeah, but then again, like I wouldn't really say like I'm complaining about it. It's just the reality of the situation now. So it's nothing that we can do about it, But it's just about just sharing with you guys out there. Who knows? Like a few years down the road, you might watch this episode and
You're like,
and
remember
then,
back in the day?
back in the days.
Like rental was only $500. Now
$500, now it's like $1,000. Like, what are they complaining? What is Yeah. So who knows? In retrospect, in the future, like no one might be complaining about this anymore.
Maybe.
But now at this point, we are complaining about it. Yeah. But that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, because I even read like this thing. I think on one of the news channels where they showed like this super funny picture. Like back in like 1938, their salary was like 1,700, but then their house prices was like 3,000. So that's like basically double of their of their annual salary.
Wow.
And then like if you convert that to now price, it's probably like 30,000 a year in today's money. But then like the house price is probably like 50,000.
True.
And you're like, you can't buy a house with 50,000 now.
To be honest, I think what you say is true also, because I recall, so my mom was the one telling me about this. So this is all anecdotal, okay guys? It's all anecdotal evidence, which is that my mom did tell me that like that my grandparents, when they bought a house, this is in Singapore, so it's like those like apartment, we call it HDB, kind of like apartment living in a way in Singapore, if
Like
you guys
more
are
like
familiar.
Basically like government funded.
Yeah, government funded house, all right? It used to take them just 5 years loan. That's all.
Yeah.
5 years loan, they'll pay down the house. That's it, I'm not sure how much salary you were back then, but these days, no way you can pay down a house in 5 years. There's no way.
Unless you're loaded.
True.
Unless you're super loaded.
Yeah, so as like a average or below average earning kind of like income owner, there's no way that you can pay it down. And I think like most loans are like 30 years probably. And I do know of there are people in Singapore, right, who are now on 40 years loan. 40 years loan to pay down their house. So
but then like what's the interest rate?
I got no idea.
10%.
I got no idea, and I don't want to know anyway. Like,
you pay it for 10-40 years and then like interest rate goes up again. You're like, oh, I have to pay, because like that's the same thing with HECS. So like back then they increased it by like to 10, like 7% or something.
Yes.
So like we realized the year before all I paid off was just the pure interest.
Oh my.
So we were like, there's no point of me like not paying off my HECS because I'll be purely just paying off
interest.
The interest.
That's right.
So I just say I'll just pay it off.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I think that's why it's just in case you guys are wondering what HEC is, maybe it's better for you to explain.
So like HECS is like just government. So you basically get the government to pay for your school fees, but then you have to pay the government back. So every year they give you a little bit of interest. So before the whole COVID episode of things, it was used to be like 0.3, maybe the max was like 2 or 3%, and then last year it spiked to like 7 or 8. So everyone thought like there's no point of me keeping this like HECS money, because I'll just rather pay it off than incur all this extra interest, because I guess all the savings that you get from the bank nowadays is also not very good.
No.
So you just rather pay it off, deal with it later, and then you just slowly save all your money again.
Yeah, true, true,
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I did had a friend who had this idea of that. Look, HECS is something that is the good thing is that it basically goes with inflation, so you're not really like paying more if anything, you know. Yeah. So I do have friends who, yeah, actually thought of it as just paying it off slowly over time. Yeah, but of course, I don't think there's anything wrong with paying it down earlier, if anything, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, guys. So there you go. This is a new financial podcast now that we're
The real finance talks.
Real finance talk. No. Okay, we are not finance expert, but as you guys know, we are optometrists who are really passionate just about like sharing about eye health, you know, and all these kind of things. Hopefully, we'll remember this, Ben. But towards the end of the episode, right, I actually want to share something, which is that like I actually attended like a podcast. I mean, like an online podcast by optometrists in the US. Okay, yeah. So I'll share with you a bit more about it towards the end. Okay, so if you guys want to know, stay tuned. Stay tuned. All right, yeah. So
You
this
can't
is
fast
the
forward.
teaser.
You can't fast forward.
Because you don't know when it's gonna be. I might say it before the
Oh,
episode
yeah,
end,
yeah, you
or
don't
maybe in
know.
the middle. Who knows?
Who knows?
We
Who
don't
knows? Who knows?
Okay, so yeah. All right, so this week we're gonna be talking about something which I think is like literally, Ben, literally, right? So many people are experiencing it. It's called digital eye strain. Digital eye strain is something that is like impacting a lot of like individuals these days. It varies. Like literally, you can get kids as young as 10 years old getting it. You can get like people who are in their mid to late. I would say
30s.
yeah, in like 20s, 30s, and even much older. You know, but especially in the younger age group, those less than 40s, it's been more and more prevalent these days. You know, yeah. And one thing we know is because of the rise of like screens and all these things. You know, yeah. So. If there's something that you can maybe share, Ben, like what do you think is some of the symptoms that all these people are getting, and why is it happening at a much faster rate now?
Yeah. So I guess since everybody's now on the screen, so they all get exposed to the same thing, and then what they get digital eye strain, it's they look at the screen for too long, or they look at it for too close. Cause kids nowadays they tend to hold things over here, and then they start complaining, oh, I can't see, or like my eyes hurt. Like they get headaches. So I guess some of the symptoms you get is you get headaches, you get a bit of eye pain, you get a bit of blurry visions or fluctuating vision. Don't really get double vision, I don't believe.
I don't think most of them do.
Yeah,
No,
like
no.
it depends maybe.
Mm.
But yeah, those are the main ones.
Yeah. Yeah, and believe it or not, like this is actually a really interesting symptom that I get from my patients. Okay, which is that they will come in not saying that they have digital eye strain or that they have eye strain usually. What they would tell me is that my far vision is blurry, and I'm like, okay. And then when I check their vision, right, it's like the prescription has not changed.
Yep.
But one thing that I like to do, right, just
Always
in the
check
eye
up
test room,
close.
I check the up close vision. So. And when you check it, they can read, but
It takes
when
a
you
bit of
put
time.
on like a plus 050 or 075 lens in front of the eyes, basically like a mild reading prescription, they say, oh, this is
It's
so
much
clear.
better. Yeah.
This is so clear. So that's where you know that is someone who is actually like experiencing digital eye strain. Now this is different from like presbyopia, which is to do with like old age where the lenses of the eye it can't focus anymore, because these people they can see clearly, but when you put that reading lens in front of a very mild one, it helps to clear their vision. Okay, so what I realized with most of them, right, once that happened, I ask them another question. I usually ask them, hey, so when you say things are blurry far away, does that usually happens after you do a lot of computer work, you know, and things like that, or at the end of the day? The answer is yes.
And you're like, no way.
No way.
What?
You know?
Tell me more.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
literally there was one day, Ben, I had three people, and their age, okay, roughly, right, one of them was I think 9, one of them was like 27, and the other one was at 35. Two of them I saw one after the other one in the morning, and then the other
like
one
a
I saw
family.
sometime in the afternoon. No, it was not a family. All of them are different people. All different people.
They all like get bright,
You know?
like please give
Yeah.
me the same presenting.
I was so shocked,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
3 people in one day having the same issue in a way. Yeah, so that's why, like, I think it's warranted for this episode for us to really share a bit more about it, you know, to share with our audience also as to what they can do to try to kind of like prevent it over time, you know. Yeah, so I think the other thing we want to talk about also is a bit of like that blue light exposure in a way, you know. So yeah, I think we also shared in a previous episode about how blue light, yes, it doesn't really help to correct like the eye diseases or things like that. But it basically helps in like the sleeping patterns,
Yeah.
waking up, sleeping, and all these kind of things. Yeah, and we know that especially when you get blue light, right? That's in your eyes, especially when you are like late at night. It actually disrupts your sleeping pattern. And then what happens is that your eyes get tired, and then next day in the morning when you wake up, you go
just
to
like,
work,
you're
you're
like
just
super,
tired.
super tired.
You're just super tired, yeah, and all
guilty.
these things. Yeah, yeah. Ben, he's guilty of
I'm
it too,
guilty.
guys. Yeah. So
Happens to the best of
yeah.
us.
it happens to the best of us, yeah. But one thing that I always advise them to do, right, is always like take breaks in between. Yeah, I think there's a very popular rule, Ben. Can you share with us a very popular rule about taking breaks?
The 20-20-20 rule.
Share with us, what is the 20-20-20 rule?
When you look at the screen for 20 minutes, look at something far away, about 20 feet or 6 meters, and then you do that for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But there's variations of that.
There's variations.
Nowadays.
I do agree because you know what? So I've been sharing initially when it just came out, right? Yeah, I was sharing it a lot with my patients about the 20-20-20 rule. One thing that I realized that's a bit less effective about it, right, is that like it's very disruptive to your working schedule. I mean, look at us now. Like we can be recording a podcast episode for about like 45 minutes to an hour, if anything. And if you were to like stop the podcast every 20 minutes,
like,
okay guys, 20 minutes,
20
we're
minutes,
gonna look
bye.
for yeah, like that is gonna be so disruptive. So one that I realized, which works for me personally and also works for like a lot of my patients, right, is what I tell them to do is that, okay, so after every hour of like intense close-up work in front of a computer or reading on your phone or anything like that, take about 3 to 5 minutes just to look away. And I realized it's way more implementable, and like my patients come back to me saying that, hey, you know what, like what you told me actually really worked really well, because they realize that usually after every hour, right, even when they're at work or they're in the office, like they do want to like walk around, they in terms of like taking a break for their eyes, going to the toilet and things like that. So it's something that's probably a bit more implementable, and something that personally I do. Is there anything that you yourself do, or how's that?
Usually for me, it's I tell them to do it every 30 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
So like I guess it's a little bit easier to do in like 30-minute chunks, but or like some do it in like an hour. Some of them they say, oh, after 1 hour of close-up work, you just go make a coffee, you walk around, go take a toilet break for like 5 to 10 minutes, and then you come back.
Yeah.
But what I tell them, it's every 30 minutes, just look out the window. Literally every office building has a window nowadays.
Most of them do,
Most 99.99%. No, but yeah. So like whenever they look at the window, just tell them to look at the greenery. So this is how relax the eyes.
Yeah. So it's pretty much just to like, if anything, relax your eyes a bit more and all that. Yeah. And I think one thing like we talked about, like this is not only affecting like adults, kids are also getting it. You know, I've gotten it so many times where parents actually, I don't really blame them in a way, where the way that they try to get their kids to stop maybe being annoying or running around and things like that is to actually
Just
use like
screen.
the screen, their mobile phone and all that. And sometimes these things, do makes their vision worse, if anything. So
because just from my own personal story, like my nephew, whenever I go to eat out with him, after he finishes his food, he gets very restless. So the only thing we can do is just put a screen in front of him, and then he starts watching it. But then he doesn't watch it like a normal person. He does this.
Oh my god!
And I'm like, someone's gonna get myopia.
Yeah, true.
But it's only young. It's only like 2 or 3.
Oh wow, that's very young. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that like a lot of that education has to start, because this is another. I wouldn't say it's a podcast. It was more like an online seminar, and this seminar was actually by the Health Promotion Board in Singapore, where they actually got ophthalmologists or eye doctors, right, to actually talk about myopia to like the Singaporean like parents / audience in a way. I happened to get an email somehow. Yeah, I think because like I was. Let me think how it happened. Okay, but honestly, I'm not sure how I got it. Maybe I did subscribe to some kind of a newsletter. So I saw it, and then so I went on the seminar basically, right? Just to see what they were talking about, and they were actually advocating for this now already. Like parents actually do want to know a bit more about like myopia these days. And I think it's good that there was this research that's done, and there's actually a new guideline now for like kids, and basically under the age of 2 years old, guess what? They recommended 0 screen time. Yeah, and I think from the age of 2 to 6, they recommended less than 2. Sorry, no, I think it's like 1 hour of screen time. And then I think from 6 or 8 and above, that's where they said that they can have 2 hours of screen time outside of school, basically. Yeah. So this to make it a bit more manageable, and we know that these days, like kids are spending way more than
Way
2
more.
hours,
Yeah,
way
just
more
like
than
the
2
whole day.
hours. Yeah,
The whole
so.
day.
Yeah, so if we even consider after school, right? Like a lot of them maybe like play games, they're like gaming in dark rooms and like, and it's all that cool. It is cool for them to be doing that, gaming with their friends and all that. So I think there's definitely a bit more education that has to go behind that, Yeah, something that we definitely have to think about. Yeah. So I think the preventative measures, like Ben and I have already mentioned, like, yes, we do give slightly different advices to our patients. And I wouldn't say there's like a one size fit all, because like, I don't think the 2020 rule was bad in any means, but like I think people
More
do
like
find
feasible.
yeah, it's just in terms of feasibility and what personally I see as like practical for my patients and what they have feedback to me, Yeah. So all right, so let's talk about the second thing. So protective strategies and tools that our patients can do. So what is the first one, Ben, that we can
Sunglasses.
Sunglasses,
Yeah.
all right.
Just like whenever you're outside, just make sure you bring sunglasses with you, or if you have transition glasses, so those that turn dark outside. As long as there's some form of sun protection.
Yeah.
Because a lot of cases nowadays where people get a bit of growth on the eye, basically what we call pterygiums or pinguicula, which is due to all the UV exposure on the eye surface. They grows like a small little reddish nodule, and then it just doesn't look very nice for them, so they always ask us to give them something to help treat it. But most of the time we really can't. You probably have to get it like removed surgically.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the main one that we get nowadays, especially in Australia, just because of how strong our UV is.
Yeah, and I think this is more for when we're outdoors in a way, right? Yeah. So, but I think some things when it comes to like screens and whatnot, right? It's actually like brightness setting, if anything. If we do realize, right, that like I always have this misconception from patients that they will try to bring down the brightness of their screen because they say that they don't want the too much glare to come in. But I always advise them, look, just match the brightness of your screen to the brightness of the room, because if you do that, then your eyes will not be overstraining. So yes, if you're in a slightly brighter room, you can bring up the brightness, but not of course too bright. So bright enough that everything looks okay. And of course, if you're in a slightly dimmer room, bring down the brightness a bit so that it's not too glaring for your eyes in a way. And on top of that, also like having like just good lighting in general, like I think like sunlight is the best light, especially like if you're working on screens and like you're in an office where you can be beside a natural source. I think that would be very good for your eyes also. Yeah, so those are just some things to take note of also.
More just natural light.
Yeah, and I think something that we talked about, the regular breaks and exercises. Yeah, so that's actually something that is very important also. Yeah, and how about blue light glasses, Ben, for digital eye strain? Like,
Yeah, we talked about this last episode.
we did talk a bit about this.
So if you watch the previous episode, you'll know the answer. But it's definitely not scientific enough for us to recommend.
So I think I agree that it's not scientific for us to recommend for protecting eye health conditions. But again, this is more anecdotal, if anything, for myself. But I have had patients before, right? They wear blue light glasses and they say that it just feels a bit more comfortable for their eyes. Now, this can be placebo, meaning like it's not real, but they just feel that way.
Like it's there.
But look, in my opinion, like if you feel that it's helping you out one way or another to relax your eyes and you're feeling the benefit of it, I don't think there's anything wrong using it, but just don't think that wearing that will either prevent your eyes from getting worse or will prevent from any eye diseases. I think that's a fair assumption, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
Yeah.
Because my friend as well, he keeps wearing his blue light lenses, because he's also working as an optometrist. But he basically feels like there's not much difference, but then by him wearing it, he also feels like there is a difference. So he knows like scientifically like there's not enough to warrant things. But then on the other hand, he's just thinking like, oh, this could help the eyes.
I see. Yeah, I mean,
but
just
he doesn't really recommend it like actively though. But he just for his own like anecdotal evidence, he feels like maybe there is.
Yeah, probably. I mean, for me, I actually did try a version of a blue light lens. It wasn't really a blue light lens in a way, all right? So, these lenses is actually more for like, it's actually a kind of a driving lens which has a slight blue tint on it, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually use this, and it gives that similar effect of a blue light glasses anyway. Now, my personal experience, because I wore these lenses for 1 year, all right, for 1 year, and you will be surprised how much your eyes just adjust to things in a way, all right? So when I was wearing those like blue blocking lenses in a way, right? Yes, I did realize that when I was driving, especially nighttime, it was a bit more clear. Like the glare from the oncoming headlights were a bit less. When I look at computer screens, yes, it do look a bit more yellow in a way, a bit more like relaxing, if anything. Yeah, but one thing that I realized though is that like when I look at a white paper, right, it
It's
does
blue.
not look white.
It looks
It looks
yellow.
orange. Yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
yellow slash orangey a bit, you know? Yeah, and the moment, so I still remember the day where I took off my blue light glasses and I put on my new pair of normal glasses with just normal reflective coating, right? I was like, oh my god, for 1 year of my
I've
life,
been looking at the brown color.
I've been seeing everything like yellowish slash orangey, you know? Yeah, so like, and that made me think that like, oh my god, you know, like sometimes we have our patients who are like maybe designers, you know, they might be graphic designers or they might be fashion designers, they whatever kind of designing that they do or whatever profession that requires good color vision, right? I don't think blue light glasses are suitable for them because like if your profession requires you to have good color vision to be able to perform your job well, you should not get blue light glasses when you're doing your job because it actually affects the color that you see. Yeah, so just something to take note for you guys who might
Yeah,
be
that's true.
designers or maybe work in a field where you require very good color vision. Stay away from blue light glasses
Imagine
when you're doing your work.
Right. Imagine you just put the glasses on, you're like, I want this color, and he just start having like a very grayed out color. You're like, what?
Yeah, precisely. So this is just like one of those like interesting things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, one thing that everyone can do also is just to um, go for the regular eye check so that their eye care professional can advise them a bit more, you know, about like digital eye strain and all these kind of things. Yeah. Is there anything like personally you do apart from taking breaks and all that that you find help with like, you know, digital eye strain in a way? Yeah.
Mainly just the type of glasses.
Mm.
There was so basically in our corporate company, we basically have this special glasses called Super Boost. What that basically means is like the top part of the lens is for looking far away, but the bottom part is purely for like reading.
Yeah.
So that one does help a little bit with the digital eye strain, especially.
I think another name for it, right? Yeah, sorry Ben, just to interrupt you. It's called those anti-fatigue lens.
Yeah.
So anti-fatigue lens is a more like generic term for it in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you find that help you?
Yeah, so I actually had one of those glasses recently.
Nice. Okay.
So I tried it out and it really helped like my up close vision. But far away I feel like it's still the same. But just for like screens, I would say computers doesn't really help. But just because of that distance.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at like things like when I'm writing things down on
Yeah.
like papers and things, that really helped.
So
Nice.
nice.
I think for me like that kind of lenses would work.
Yeah.
But it also depends on what kind of eye muscle strength that you have. Because for me myself, I have a little bit of accommodative insufficiency. Fancy term for just saying like your eye muscles is a little bit too weak, so it can't keep contracting, expanding, can't keep working for too long. So my eyes get really tired very quickly. So whenever I wear those glasses for up close vision, that really helps me. But it depends individuals to individuals.
Yeah, and just to share, right? Like literally those 3 people who I told you that like I saw them on the same day, I recommended all of them those lenses. All right? Yeah. So and my experience with those lenses was that from previous patients I've been prescribing for like a couple of years already now, those anti-fatigue lenses actually really help them out. All right? Yeah. So in a sense that yes, it does reduce it. But one thing I mentioned to my patients that this does not substitute the fact that you have to take breaks still. Yeah, because taking breaks is like very important for your eyes. Yeah. So yes, this lens is like a temporary solution to help you out, but you shouldn't be relying just on that, you know. And in a way, the anti-fatigue lenses, right, it is and is not a kind of multifocal lens in a
Yeah,
way.
pretty much.
Yeah, so because like sometimes when I want to recommend these anti-fatigue lenses,
The
some of the
parents are like,
patients are like,
yeah.
the parents are like, oh, are these a multifocal? And or even someone in their 20s will be like, oh, are these like those old people glasses? I'm like, look, it's different. The application is different, all right? So because one thing as we know as optometrists, which is that like once you're above 40, mostly you will need reading glasses, and the prescription in those like multifocal glasses, if you get them, is much higher.
Yeah.
It can be even twice as much as a young person or maybe in their 30s would need, you know? Yeah, so in a way, yes, it is a kind of a multifocal lens, but not in the way that you think it's used for, which is that it's not used for like the old people eyes, if that's a lack of a better term, right? Yeah, so it's more, and I always explain this to my patients, which is that, look, it's not that you can't see far or you can't read up close, you can, but your eyes are just taking a while to adjust to it. So using this anti-fatigue lens, it just helps your eyes to instantly adjust when you look far or when you look close up. That's it. Yeah, so when I tell that to my patients, right, then they understand, because like you wouldn't want them to have lenses and then they look at their reading and they're like, oh, I can see, like, why did the optometrist recommend me like such an expensive lens, which is not going to help? But in fact, it is helping in terms of making their eyes relax a bit more when they're reading close up and make it instantly focus when they look far away. Yeah, so as with your experience with the anti-fatigue lens in a way, I think that's what it pretty much is, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
So moving on to the next one we're going to talk about is about balancing like screen time and also eye health in a way. All right? Yeah, so Ben, bring us through what's the first thing that we should look at doing.
So like just expanding more on that 20-20-20 rule.
Yeah.
So just I guess with all of these especially digital eye strain and all these issues, we want to make sure things are done in moderation.
Yes.
So don't go and spend like 2 hours on the screen. Just keep playing your games. I know it's fun, but like just take regular breaks. You'll thank us later, 10 years down the road.
Oh, you will. Because look, I mean, I don't think it's just about digital eye strain. It's also about like getting myopia or short-sightedness, which we know is like on the rise as time goes by, you know? Yeah, so sometimes, yes, you might be lucky that just using your phones and all this, it just causes digital eye strain, which is not the worst thing yet. But if it causes myopia, which is not reversible, then that's not something that you want, you know? So that's why I think Ben and I, we are pretty huge advocate of just taking eye breaks like as much as we can, but minimally with what we have recommended just now, you know? Yeah, so that's very important in a way. Yeah.
It's also like as long as you spend time outdoors as well. There's like some studies out there that shows 1 hour outdoors every day just to help relax the eyes, just have more natural lighting, just to make your eyes a bit more comfortable, less strained.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, I think the study you might be referring to, right, is a study that was done in China of over 1,000 kids that they actually got them to spend, I wasn't sure, is it 1 or 2 hours outdoors? And over the long run, it actually did help to slow down the progression of their short-sightedness or totally stop it. All right? Of course, we can never guarantee results that, like this will stop it, but you know, like evidence have shown that it does help to slow it down by a lot. So it's something that I have been advocating a lot to like parents these days. Like, you know, no matter what, if your kids are wearing or are not wearing glasses, right? It's like, I think 1 hour a day outdoors, you know, it's actually something that is very doable for most people, I would say. Like even, you know, just if they maybe spend half an hour during like maybe recess time in school, another half an hour after school when they come back, it can be even like while they are walking home. Like that could be the half an hour journey, you know, or maybe once they're back home, just going to the park to play and things like that. Like all these things, you know, the fact that they're not focused on screens up close and they're looking far away, that's what helps to relax their eyes much more.
Also another thing, it's is it like having an arm's length? So it's like back then we recommend having like an arm's length away from your screens.
Yes.
Or even like your papers and your books. Just so it's like more postural habits.
Yes.
And also just to help relax the eyes. Because imagine if you're doing this all the time. Especially like with like a 10-year-old kid. You're like
and I think that's very important, you know, so that like I recalled another optometrist told me before that they usually recommend an elbow length distance in a way. I guess different people, we have slightly, with optometrists, we have slightly different opinions on things also, you know, so I don't think it's right or wrong, but I can see some benefit to it because they say, oh, arm's length might be a bit too far, so you wouldn't want to write like there, you know. But if it's like an elbow length away, you know, that's at least something that's more doable for most people. Yeah, and yes, we do acknowledge some of us are taller, some of us are a bit shorter. So, you know, like Ben is a super tall dude, guys.
Like
Okay,
super,
so
like one arm's length away, I'm just like I can't even see what I'm
but
writing.
my one arm's length, you know, I can probably still see a bit, you know. Yeah, so that's just one thing about it. But I do agree with you, like just keeping a safe distance, you know, if anything. So as long as it's not here and it's not like there, but it's somewhere in between, if anything is a bit further away, I think would be perfect, just like what you mentioned, Ben. Yeah, and of course, nothing beats also going for regular eye check with your optometrist. I think that's very important, isn't it?
That's very important. Just other than just making sure your eyes are okay, it's just to make sure. It's pretty much making sure your eyes are okay. Yeah. So even though if you wear glasses, if you don't have any eye conditions, or if you feel like your eyes are fine, always just get your eyes checked, because you never know what we might find.
It's true, and I think that's one of the things that like it's good for us to bring home also, which is having regular eye tests, right? It's not only about checking your prescription, but it's also about checking your eye health. And I think that's a thing that most people, they might not really see it that way, but it should be, because if you think about it, vision is actually probably one of the, yes, it's the most important aspect in a way that you see things, but it's not the only thing that we should be looking at in terms of the eyes, because we have encountered before many cases where our patients have perfect vision, but then they might have glaucoma, or they might have the starts of macular degeneration, you know. So and it's saddening if we detect it later, but if we detect it very early on, you know, then at least there's something that we can do to make sure that, you know, everything's nice and healthy. Yeah, and as what we've recommended in the previous episode also, is that going for your eye check minimally once every 2 years or once a year, if directed by your optometrist, is very important. And of course, anyone above the age of 65 should, or not should, it's recommended to get their eyes tested like on a yearly basis. All right, yeah, just to make sure that everything's fine.
We should do a disclaimer, like everything we say, it's highly recommended.
It's highly recommended, yeah, because again, like as you guys know, yeah, we are here. Yes, we are qualified optometrists. We did graduate from university and whatnot,
but we don't force anything.
But we don't. Yeah, we are. If anything, this is more for like educational and entertainment purposes in a way. Yeah, and of course you have to visit your local eye care professional, no matter where you are around the world, to
get the best advice.
to get the best advice that's suited just for you, because what we're talking about might affect you, but maybe it is affecting you in a different way. So definitely, yeah, just visit your local eye care professional and see what they have to say about it. Yeah. True. And I think this is a good segue to talk about that thing that was mentioning before, remember?
Yes.
So if you guys stayed till the end now, so you know this is where I started talking about
congrats.
it. Congrats guys, congrats. What happened, right, Ben? I think this was literally last week. So they actually just personally about me, I've actually started to be on LinkedIn a bit more now. You know, I'm just trying to build like a bit more like my personal brand / online presence in a way. And one thing I realized is that like I started connecting with a lot of optometrists. First thing I realized, okay, even before that, there's actually a lot of optometrists in Australia. There's so many. There's just so many that like I mean, I knew that there were a lot, okay? But yes, maybe most of them are in the eastern states, if anything, but also in Perth, there's actually a lot of optometrists. Yeah, that maybe myself, I might not have maybe met them or really know them in a way. Yeah, and true, a lot of them are not active on LinkedIn or anything. I think people have this misconception that they use LinkedIn as a platform only to find jobs. Yeah, apart from that, they don't really use LinkedIn in a way. And look, I don't really blame anyone for that. But when I started to get more into LinkedIn, right, I realized that when I started connecting with like other health professionals around the world, it's really eye-opening. So there was one of this channel that they that this particular optometrist in the US, you know, that he's doing like a podcast of some sort, similar to what we are doing, but of course they are a bit ahead of us because we've been doing it for like a few years, right? And they were just sharing about like the top things that happened back in 2023 in the world of optometry, and it was actually really interesting, you know. Yeah, and of course, without a doubt, myopia was one of the things that they did like talk about, but more than just like myopia or controlling short-sightedness, right? Is the fact that like in the US at the moment now, just for myopia control, they still do not have access to like myopia control glasses. It's not approved over there yet.
As in MyoSmart.
Yeah, so we're talking about like MyoSmart, Stellus, or MyoCare. They have none of the options available for them at the moment that is approved.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is actually very interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, we are not sponsored by.
We're not sponsored by any of these companies.
Yeah, we're not sponsored, so we are very unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
We're over here.
It's Badlands.
Yeah. So yeah. So but basically like and being when I heard about it, I just share my experience with them. They're like, look, in Australia, we've been having these sciences for quite a while now, and I must say that like it's like the results, the amount of kids that have been starting to wear these glasses and show improvement, or not really show improvement, but their vision not getting worse is actually really good. Yeah, and in fact, just last week I had a patient she's 20 years old at the moment, all right, and she is from like a competitor the company in a way. She was a different company, came over to us. She's been wearing those lenses for 3 years now, and her vision has not changed at all. I was wow, like and this shows that sometimes as optometrists, right, like when we read research papers and we hear about things, it's great. But when we see it in real life, it's like, whoa,
like
this
actually
works.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it hits you different, and then your conviction increase even more. Yeah. But basically there's some things that they were talking about. Yeah, and I think there was a lot of things that they were talking about, like dry eye treatments. They're talking about like I think there's something about like depth perception. So they were really talking about like a lot of things in the world of eye health in a way, which I think that, look, who knows, maybe one day like we can do like a 2024 recap in the world of optometry in Australia. Yeah, and just shout out to those guys basically. I might butcher his name. I hope I'm not, but I think his name was Dr. Daryl Glover, because as you know, most of them are like doctor of optometry there, right? Like ODs basically. Yeah, so I think Dr. Daryl Glover, he's one of those people who's on a podcast called Defocus Media, which is actually a optometry podcast based in the US. Okay. Yeah, and I think they have quite a bit of following, if anything, so who knows? Maybe we might do a collab with them one day.
Can we?
You never, you never know.
Please hit us up.
Because I actually got a shout out for that comment, and he actually mentioned it in that live event. So it was a live event.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I typed about it, and it was mentioned, and like, look, like I know we are just in the beginning of our podcast journey, but like, when we comment and someone like acknowledge us there, like it feels nice.
Yeah, it feels nice.
It feels really
nice. I'm recognized.
I am recognized, yeah. But again, I guess it's just in the world of content creation in a way, like that's what usually happens here. Yeah. But I think more than just content creation for me is the ability to like just connect with different professionals around the world. Yeah, and like it is really a different opportunity in a way, Yeah. So that was what I wanted to share about, guys, which is a bit of a nugget about,
Yeah, that's true. Maybe like 2025 when you know everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, give me some sponsorship.
Yeah. Look, like I've never thought about it, like, in terms of like sponsorship and all this. I don't know how I'm gonna be in the future, but like at this point of my career at least, right, I feel that like when I build some sort of a presence, I'm not sure if I really want to get sponsorships in a way. Yeah. So and I think it's all based around that brand credibility, where like if a company starts to sponsor you, right, of course, we usually give our unbiased opinion on things, but the audience will know that like this is sponsored, so there might be some biasness in it also, Yeah, so I don't know, like I think especially for my own like personal like channel in a way, I might or might not accept any kind of like sponsorship, because if anything, I think it's good to build a very like organic community in a way where like the viewers trust you, yeah, and then like as time goes by, yeah. So that's why like I feel like for us at Real Lounge Talks, right? If a lounge company sponsor us, right,
I feel like at
it
that
won't
point,
it won't change our view of
anything.
optometry.
Honestly, you wouldn't.
So lounge companies, please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us. Please give us a good lounge. Good lounge.
And we will talk about the benefits of sitting in those lounges.
Honestly,
seriously,
it's good for lumbar support.
Yeah,
you can
you know?
put plushies on it.
Yeah,
you can
true,
put plushies on this.
True, and who knows? Maybe massage chair companies want to sponsor us.
Oh,
also.
Sim.
Oh,
It's
just saying.
It's only like it's like you guys are like what? You guys save so much money every year. It's like
true,
what's
true.
like what's one
you know?
one or two? No,
Two,
two. Maybe three. We get some.
Minimum 2 plus 3 for the guys.
Yeah.
Three.
Just like what's 3 for you guys? Come on.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Just back like on a serious note in a way, right? Yeah. I think that personally, getting brand sponsorship for something as direct as optometry is something that I think might be something that I might or might not do, because it's something that I think is very tricky in a way. And of course, this is in no way saying bad things about people who do take sponsorships and whatnot, because I think everyone grows their brand in a different way. Yeah, but I think like especially for like Real Lounge Talks, I think it fits our brand in a way to have nice lounges where people can sponsor. But it's just about optometry, just to keep it real, Yeah, so I think that's where things can happen. Yeah.
There's like a little bit of conflict of interest.
Yeah.
But giving us a free lounge, I don't think
free lounge is fine.
I think there's no conflict.
Yeah, where we can talk about lounges and then it become a lounge channel.
Honestly, you're just like this particular lounge has this and this.
Yeah, true. But of course, I mean, so I think that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. Yeah, it's probably one of our shorter episodes, if anything. I think. Yeah, but I think we just want to drill that down about talking about like digital eye strain. About how like it's something that's really affecting a lot of people, and if you're someone who experiencing it, of course, go in, visit your local optometrist so that they can advise you a bit more. But also remember those small tips that we've mentioned, like taking breaks, or even using like those anti-fatigue lenses. All these things can really help them out. Yeah. Anything else you would like to add, Ben, before we end off the episode?
Yes, you've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
As he does, so he's basically the brains of the channel. Clearly, as you can tell.
No, but like in my humble opinion, all right, this is actually more of a collaboration, because like I think it was more of like both you and me having that idea, and then wanting to make it happen, because like even just on my own, I don't really think I could have like just done this, Yeah, so because like it takes more than 1% to really like make this happen, if anything, and of course, our bam. And also, getting this as a Christmas gift.
Honestly.
Yeah,
shout out to Moses.
Shout out to Moses again, all right? Yeah, so we're shouting it out twice already. So we will bring him one day on the podcast. Okay, we just have to think about how to get a third microphone. So, we will think about it. We will think about it. Yeah, but yeah. So So I think that really brings us to the end of this episode. Again, if you guys got any questions, comments, do drop them in the comment section down below. And of course, we'll be more than happy to answer your questions, and definitely stay tuned for future episodes. And anything you guys want us to go through, drop it in the comments too.
Yes. Yeah. Do you know what we should do? We should actually create like a channel for us. So like on like social media platforms. So we should make it like Real Lounge Talks, and then start putting episodes up there. I feel like that's how we can that's how we can gain traction.
True.
Because our first episode was like 40 views.
No way, really? Yeah. Okay, I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't really seen how many views we've gotten. But
So like
seriously,
the first episode was 40, and then the second and third episode was like 5.
Yeah.
So it died out immediately. So it spiked, and then it died.
To be fair, right? Okay, just before we end on this episode,
pretty good.
It actually happened like on my LinkedIn also. Like my first post, right? Like got so much traction, and then my posts after that, right, got lesser traction. So I'm not sure if the algorithm is doing something to like push your very first one so that you feel good, and then like the ones after that, right, like you are in the game already. Like if you're not putting in the effort, like you won't get anything out, But I think, as we've discussed, like we want to run this channel for at least a year, and then we want to see how things go, and then we can just take things from there. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, guys.
Probably by then we have an editor.
Yeah. Sorry, have a what?
Have an editor.
Have a what? Sorry.
Editor.
Editor. Oh my god. That would be good.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. So, that's it from us today. Yeah, and of course, anything else, guys, please hit us in the comments down below. Okay. All right.
See you.
Okay. See you guys. Take care.
Peace.
Bye bye. Peace. Oh, peace.
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 Peace. Peace. Love
Peace.
heart. Love heart. Love heart.